Aloha and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Got Your Six podcast. This six-question podcast brings together high performers to share their methods, strategies, and ideas, delivered in an informative and, most importantly, actionable way that'll help you lead yourself and those around you from the battlefield to the boardroom. Coming to you every episode, I'm your host, Tony Nash. And into the breach.
Nothing mentioned on this podcast is an endorsement or opinion of the Department of Defense.
I got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. Got your six, we got your back. I got your six.
Today's Sixers, we got a special episode. Don Tran, former Marine Raider, entrepreneur, certified personal trainer, is joining us. He is the co-founder of the Underwater Torpedo League, a longtime underground military sport that he's really brought to the forefront in the mainstream, and then also the complementary training program called Deep End Fitness. His mission is to really help both athletes and non-athletes overcome fear and break boundaries to become better versions of themselves, which we're all about here on the Got Your Six podcast. He believes in hard work and pushing one's limits every day, and believes a person's own safety net is themselves. The Underwater Torpedo League has attracted celebrities across the board, from NFL players, pro surfers, and MMA fighters. Don is a graduate of Chapman University with a bachelor's degree in business administration and is currently attending the executive MBA program at USC Marshall. Don, welcome on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, man. Absolutely. It's so cool to see what you're doing and how you took something that helped you kind of overcome your fears and constraints underneath the water, and using it to help other people is awesome.
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far, but yeah, everybody says the water is like the biggest equalizer, and in some ways that's really true, because you could be the best athlete on land. Yeah. But once you go in the water, or when you're forced to kind of go underwater, it kind of completely changes the way you train and the way you think, for sure.
Dude, that's one of those things you don't think about, but once you're kind of in that environment, it resonates, and it's so true. Now that you've kind of been away from the military for a little bit, is there anything you look to implement every day, or just, by training or whatever, that you've kind of taken away from your time in the military?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I've taken away from the military is just working out almost every day, or every single day that I can. And it doesn't mean that you have to hit the gym or hit the weights every single day, right, but doing something physical to kind of help you gain. I mean, for me, working out is like really helps me get in the right mindset and right mental state, for sure. And it's not just about lifting weights, but it's about clearing your mind, getting those endorphins out, and just pushing and making yourself better every day.
That's such a powerful thing too, because everybody wants to just go clang and bang all the time and lift as much weight as possible, but your body needs a break, right? You can only push it so far. I mean, that's why you take your car in to get inspected every once in a while to make sure everything under the hood is good. And really, the mindset is such a huge piece that a lot of people, I think, goes unnoticed or unappreciated.
Yeah, and the working out, like, for example, is like, it's the only time that you work to fail out on some sets, like, so if you're like lifting weights, hey, you're working out till you hit failure. And that's like a mental thing check every single time. Like, oh man, I'm working out to hit failure. And that should kind of be how you see the rest of life as well. Like, hey, I need to work until I find a point or an obstacle that's extremely challenging, or hey, I hit failure and it's an opportunity to learn. And in the gym, it's, hey, for your muscle memory to kind of learn that, like, hey, this is my max and what do I need to do to kind of adjust it? But that goes right into real life as well. How can you adjust to become better and get past those numbers or past that obstacle in real life?
Being able to push that threshold isn't just, pounds or kilos on a barbell, right? It's sometimes it's in between your ears. You spoke about failure. What would you say has been a failure that has actually led to your greatest success?
Oh man, there's so many failures, man. I fail every day, but I guess in the military, the biggest failure I had was I was on a state platoon, so on a sniper platoon in the Marine Corps, but I didn't get to go to sniper school, and I felt like, to me, that was the biggest failure. And in the Marine Corps, there's if you're on a state platoon or a sniper platoon, you're either a hog, which is hunter gunman, the guys that have gone through sniper school, or you're a pig, the guys that have not gone through sniper school. So I never got to go through sniper school. So that was my biggest failure in the Marine Corps, but that made me want to go into Marine Special Operations, and made me go to selection. So that's where it kind of got me today. So definitely that was one of my biggest failures that turned into a good thing.
Yeah.
And pushing even the envelope a little bit further from myself in the military. And then I guess in the business world now, and I mean, I fail every day, from failing pitches to just failing every single day, not hitting marks or goals that you set for yourself, and revenue wise or whatever that is. But every opportunity is to learn, and every single time we fall, you grow and you get better.
Right. So you're not going down that path of just continuing to be like, I think this is the right, you're testing and constantly iterating each time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you mentioned, you ended up being a pig as opposed to being a hog initially when you were in the sniper platoon. What have you really taken away from that experience? As do you still kind of go back to it from time to time and be like, hey, I'm not as good as I think I am, or like kind of really using that imposter syndrome to an extent as like a driver or motivation?
All the time. And talking about like the 10,000 community is a big one, right? I mean, all the athletes on the team captains and some of the athletes are insanely fit or super really good at something that they're really good at. But I always see, and I kind of compare myself all the time, like, hey, am I performing to the level that they are? And most of the time it's not. These guys are monsters. So just kind of taking that, like, hey, you're not always the best, or you're not always going to be at the top performing all the time, but it's always an opportunity for you to grow and try to catch up to them, or to learn from them in so many different ways. But recently I just started doing CrossFit like 6 or 7 months ago, and it's been a kick in the ass. It's been horrible. I just never performed that type of movements, or like Olympic lifting. All those movements are crazy. Gymnastic movements are extremely hard to do, but I'm having a lot of fun, and it's amazing, and I'm moving my body I've never moved before, and in a short amount of time, like so many reps. Before, I always thought like, oh, you're only going to do like 10 reps of something. Okay, that's not that hard. But 10 reps, doing another 10 reps of something, and then going back to that and going back and forth, it's been killer. But I'm having a lot of fun, so it's amazing.
That's awesome. It's so cool to kind of approach something or go into some sort of environment where you're totally new, right? Because you see it in such a different perspective,
Yeah, for sure. And this was the first year I did the open too. I only finished one of the workouts.
Dude,
so I didn't finish.
That's better than most, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was challenging. I thought I was going to do a lot better, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
So you said you've been doing what, CrossFit 6 months now or so?
Yeah, I think I started in October of 2020. Yeah, October of 2020. So now it's March.
So during the pandemic, you were like, let's pick up some CrossFit, see what it's all about.
Well, there was no gyms open, like regular gyms, like 24-hour fitness, or LA is where I normally used to work out at. But one of my friends has a gym, a CrossFit gym, and he moved all his racks outside.
Okay.
So that was like the kind of setup that we were using and training outside. And I was like, oh, this is actual gym. You can still work out. And he's like, yeah, try it. I mean, if you're going to work out here, you got to work out and do the workouts here. Right. So kind of got started. Yeah.
Pay to play for sure. Yeah. What other, say like in the last 5 years, what have you had a new belief? I mean, you got, the Underwater Torpedo League going, you're back and getting your MBA. You're constantly learning and seeing a lot of different things. Is there any like new belief or behavior or habit that you've kind of picked up that has like really improved your life?
Oh man, so many, to be honest with you. Coming from the military, it's a very structured place, that you do specific things for specific reasons. Not a lot of free thinking, even in the special operations community. Like they're always talking about, hey, you got to be an outside the box thinker, and kind of be innovative and all this stuff. But within very specific guidelines, can you do that? And that's pretty much only overseas when you need to go and do a mission set or something like that. That's not very conventional. But now that I'm outside of the military and I started my own business, everything is free game. I can do whatever I want to do as long as it makes sense to me. And so in that piece, just understanding mindfulness for the right part and for the right reasons is huge. And a lot of the underwater training has so much mindfulness to it, right? And mindset training to it. Because when you're underwater, number one, it's like a meditation for me, because all the noise in the world is kind of just drowned out, and all you can hear is just you and underneath the water. And number two, it's like a lot of people have that anxiety when they go underwater, like, hey, I need to come up for air right away. And that's natural. We're mammals, so it's a mammalian dive reflex that goes off. But you have that choice to, hey, can I stay down here a little bit longer and do the task I need to do, or just chill, or do I need to come up right now for air? So just that piece, and kind of interacting with that mindfulness piece, like, hey, I have a choice here to stay down a little bit longer. I understand my capabilities. I understand my limitations. I can stay down here for a little bit longer. And that just applies to everything in life for me as well.
Right.
Moving forward. So now, I started meditating probably a year and a half ago. So every morning, do a little meditation, do a little prayer, and just slowing everything down for 1 second. And I try to do it before I go to sleep too, as well. But being an entrepreneur and being in school, just so many, I thought I was busy in the military, but I'm way more busy now, for sure. But just taking a second and slowing everything back down and understanding what just happened today, or what you need to think about, and not think about like, hey, I need to go to work, but just being present, just being present is huge for me. And I think that's made my mental health a lot better than it was when I was in the military. When I got out of the military, I was taking like 6 different medications they put me on, from like anti-nightmare medication and all that stuff. And now I'm not taking anything, so just hanging out, just chilling, just coming at peace with the things that I need to do every day.
That's huge. Like, I hope you give yourself enough credit for that, because that's huge to kind of have, like, be told like you need to have these kind of medicines and things like that, to kind of be like, you know what, it actually is just something internally that needs constant work, but I can put the work in to see the results at the end of the day. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. And like, the VA is a good system, ish. The support system for you, but I feel like that so many times they just kind of try to give you the medication to get you out the door, or they give you someone to talk to that is probably not the right person that you should be talking to. So it creates a lot of additional barriers for you to kind of break out of that and be okay on your own. And I was lucky enough to have a good support system from the military guys I went with, and Prime's my business partner. He kind of took the step first of getting away from all that stuff. He medically separated for back and TBI issues, but he's not on anything anymore as well. And he kind of laid the way forward for me to, like, hey, you don't need all that stuff. Let's be present. Let's meditate. So it's been an amazing journey so far.
Just taking in all that night noise and stuff that we hear on a constant basis, and then just kind of, what's your like meditation practice like? Is it just, do you have any like fancy things you do? And if I'm just kind of curious, or is it just like you closing your eyes and just doing like 10, 20 minutes?
Yeah, I just 10, 20, sometimes not even 20 minutes if I don't have the time, 5, 10 minutes. And I used to be able to need a lot of music, or like soothing music, to kind of put me in my mindset. But now the silence does it for me, just kind of put myself in that right mindfulness, and just letting thoughts flow past, things that need to go and things that need to stay, and just being in the moment and understanding that, hey, not everything needs to happen exactly right now, and people aren't dying. And I always reference like the decisions I'm making now aren't based off of my friends or getting hurt or risking their lives. So that always calms me down a little bit more as well. Like, hey, you're just trying to make some money and you're just trying to help people, but people aren't dying. So it's good.
No, that's also a great perspective to have too. Like, it's okay. We put all this additional pressure on ourselves all the time, and it's hard to kind of break through that and say, you know what, like, it's not that bad. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get through it on the other side. We're going to grow. We're going to suck. It's just how it kind of goes. You mentioned earlier about the 10,000 athletes and the other captains that are out there. And I can't agree with you more. They are just, not only are they incredible people, like individuals who are just, so empathetic and caring, but just the mental endurance, and everybody has their own special piece that they contribute. And we all kind of center around that, how are you better than yesterday? So then I ask you, Don, like, how are you better than yesterday?
Yeah. To be honest, it's setting clear goals that you can have on your own, short-term and long-term goals, right? And as long as I'm moving one step ahead and moving towards those goals, I feel 100% like I'm getting better every single day. But they have to be good goals, all right? So, and I always use the SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable,
Yeah.
reachable, and timely. So have good goals and then work towards those every single day, and that's becoming better. But I always like to have 5 key portions of goals. Where number 1 is education. So right now I'm doing my MBA program, which is amazing. Family life, hobby and leisure, like what you're doing for yourself. And for me, working out, it's like my hobby and leisure. That's how I like to get better, and that's how I clear my mind.
Yeah.
And then global impact is one as well. Like, hey, how you're affecting the world, how you're helping other people. And that's a huge one for me. And I think that I'm doing that through my company, which is also my business goal. So it kind of works all in one. But yeah, just taking one step at a time. Because sometimes a lot of the long-term goals always seem so far, but if you break it down to short-term goals and day by day, you're going to look back one day like, wow, I did all that already. And now we're like almost 3.5 years into the companies. And I look back like, holy shit, we're actually doing something now. We're getting a lot of traction. We're helping a lot of people, which is amazing. And yeah, people are talking about us, which is good. So the more we can help people, the better it is.
Nice. So how are you doing your goals? Are you doing like weekly, monthly? You said day, you got your daily goals, but then how do you break those 5 down otherwise? Do you have like quarterly goals? How do you do it?
Yeah, quarterly for the business, for all of those. Personally, I like to reattack them and reassess them every single month.
Okay.
Yeah, because I always break it down. I did this goals and gap exercise with one of my friends with Prime, and it's always about identifying your biggest accomplishments that you had within that specific field, and then your biggest goal that you have, whether that's your long-term goal or whatever it is, and then identifying your gaps. And your gaps are going to be the small goals that you break up. Like, hey, how do I fill that gap to get to where I need to go? And it goes from, for example, like for my MBA program, right? We'll use that, like graduate, get an MBA, or whatever it is,
right,
is my long-term goal. My biggest accomplishment so far is my bachelor degrees. And then the gaps that I need to fill is, hey, I need to get through this semester first, right? But within that, like, what's the gap within that? Oh, I got to make sure I finish my finance project. Okay, what's the gap within that? I need to get with my group. I need to do that. So right there, that's my roadmap to where I need to go to get there. So as long as you have it written down somewhere, or you can put it in your head too, but writing stuff down has been a big thing for me. I have horrible memory.
Yeah.
So I like to write everything down. And it keeps me honest and on track to where I need to go.
You can't really rely on pen and paper. You know what I'm saying? Like once you put down like what you actually want to do, it's like you see it, it's out there, you're taking it out of your head, and you're staring at it, it's staring back at you.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a gut check because you look at it like, holy shit, I didn't do any of that. Like, oh, I need to catch up. But yeah, so
and you do, right? You just kind of kick it into a different gear, and you remain focused on the end state, and finding those gaps and continue to fill them. Mm-hmm. Don, I can't thank you enough for your time. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best Instagram, LinkedIn? Where are they going to find out more?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Don Tran. On Instagram, my Instagram handle is 2 Ds, 3 Os, 4 Ns, Don. And then you can find our business sites as well as Deep End Fitness and Underwater Torpedo League. You can search on Instagram, Google, TikTok, whatever. We're on them all.
And speaking of Underwater Torpedo League, you guys recently expanded as well too.
Yeah, we are in Miami right now, and then we launch our DC location on June 6th. And then, we're seeing where we can go. Arizona, Austin area is next, Bay Area, and Hawaii are our next target. So if you guys are in the area, hit me up and we'll make something happen out there.
Awesome. I can't wait. If you haven't heard about Underwater Torpedo League yet, you will, because it's coming to a city near you soon enough, not to worry. Don, again, thank you so much for your time, brother. This was a great conversation. Appreciate you letting us go into your head a little bit, having our 6 as we get through this thing called life together.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't know what you've been told, Sixers, But the lawyers would like us to remind you that the views, opinions, and comments expressed on the Got Your Six podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests, to include current and previous Department of Defense employees, and should in no way be considered the opinions of or endorsements on behalf of the Department of Defense or any of its components, divisions, contractors, or other current and previous staff members.